What is up, everybody? Hopefully you guys are doing great as always. My name is Itai, and in today's YouTube chess video, I decided to share a pretty nice opening. This opening is known as the Saragossa opening. It starts with c3, and it has some distinct advantages, although it looks fairly passive. If you want other openings, such as f4 or c4, then you can check out the playlist. It's going to appear in the top right now, because I've made a lot of videos regarding chess openings. Also, more than 78% of the people that watch my videos are not subscribed. So, if you're watching this right now and you're not subscribed, make sure you do so, because we're getting so close to 500 subscribers, and also this way you'll never miss a chess video. First off, I want to mention that yes, this looks very passive, as opposed to, say, e4, where you put yourself very aggressively in the center, where you control two squares. c3 is a lot more passive, right? It doesn't control, or it doesn't take up any space in the center, although it does still influence the center. And generally in chess, you want to make your pieces influence the center as much as you can, because eventually there will be some sort of fight for the center. So if you can move all of your pieces, like the knight, and in this case the pawn, out that will support center squares, then you'll be more set for that fight that will eventually happen. Also, this opening can easily transpose into more common variations. For example, if your opponent were to play this move, then you'll find yourself in one of the Sicilian variations, where now this could have also been reached if you were to play e4 first, and you were met with the Sicilian. So you can see that this is one example of how it can transpose. Additionally, if your opponent were to play the best move, which is knight here, controlling the light squares in the center, which right now you have no influence on, so it's quite smart by black, controlling the squares that you cannot control yet. Then you can simply play a move like this, and let's say the game were to continue like this, again controlling the light squares in the center. This could very easily transpose into a London system if you put out your bishop. So generally speaking, a lot of openings that are kind of in the f-file or c-file, they can transpose into more common openings, and this one is no different. So a lot of times you'll see this move met with d4, just because this is so protected now. Another thing that I want to mention is that a lot of times an idea that you'll have, let's say that you go with this variation where you also put out your knight, and let's say that the game continues like this. A lot of times an idea that you'll have is to end out putting your knight here where it's in an outpost. The reason for this is that now the pawn here can no longer really push out the knight, and this pawn is blocked by its own knight, so this pawn can also not push out the knight. So in the end, you have a pretty nice knight in the center that controls a lot of pretty important regions, and it cannot easily be kicked out, which is a very nice feature of an outpost. Of course, you can still end up putting out your bishop, moving out your knight as well. This knight here, it's a little bit harder to move out, because one of the disadvantages of c3 is that you take away the c3 square for your knight, which is usually where you want that knight to be. That doesn't mean that it can't find itself in the game, though, because a lot of times, especially once you kick out your knight, or once you kick out your bishop, you can place your knight here where it no longer blocks the bishop. So then you can still be able to castle eventually this way. And of course, you can very easily find yourself castling also on the king side. So castling usually isn't a problem, and generally speaking, moving out your minor and major pieces are not issues as well. Additionally, a nice little feature of c3 that I'd like to do is take advantage of this opened c2 square that usually would be, it wouldn't be open because the pawn would be here. And the way that I take advantage of this is playing a move like this, or playing a series of moves like this, where now, once again, it just puts more control on the d4 square. The d4 square is your square in this game. When you start with a move like c3, the d4 square definitely is going to be yours. And you'll see that in almost every variation. It's very hard for black to control the dark squares. And generally, although you start very passively, you transpose into a position that is quite pleasant for you. So overall, I think this is a wonderful opening. Maybe it isn't as sound as maybe one of the more common openings like d4 or e4, but that being said, it doesn't mean that it's bad, especially considering that c3 a lot of times throws your opponents off of what they're expecting. which is a huge thing in chess. You always want to do something that your opponent will not expect. And even if they manage to control both of the centers, and you shouldn't let them, but even if they somehow do, once again, this square here will always be yours. So generally speaking, this is quite pleasant for control in the center. And I think that this is definitely an opening that you should try out. I think in general, people stick too much to the common openings, and unless it's a very important game, like in a tournament or a game that you're betting money on, try different openings, right? Why not? Maybe you'll find an opening that you really like. And hey, maybe the Saragossa opening is an opening that you'll find good for you. So make sure you try out the c3 opening. And if you want other openings, once again, I mentioned I have c4, I have the birds opening. I even have a move like g3 in an opening video. I have a lot of opening videos. So if you want to try out different openings as well, then I would highly recommend you check out the playlist. It's again going to appear up in the top, as well as in the end screen. It's worth your try. And subscribe if you're new, like I said. Comment different video ideas you have. This was a pretty short video, but I think I managed to cover this opening, all that's really important with this opening. So hopefully you still learned something from it, and I'll see you guys next time. If you want more opening videos, then press the playlist right here. If you want more chess videos in general and want to be part of this awesome journey, then subscribe by pressing this